I was standing at the ATM outside my bank on a Tuesday morning trying to withdraw $60 for groceries when the machine flashed a message that made my stomach drop. Insufficient funds, account balance, $14.27. I stood there in the cold staring at those words, knowing they couldn't possibly be right because my Social Security check of $1,847 and my pension of $923 had both been deposited just 5 days ago. I'd checked my account online and seen them pending. I tried the transaction again, thinking it was a mistake, but got the same message, and when I went inside to ask the teller what was wrong, she looked at my account and said with confusion in her voice, "Mrs. Williams, according to our records, your deposits were rerouted to a different account 3 months ago. Didn't you authorize that change?" I felt the blood drain from my face because I had never authorized anything, had never changed any account information, and as the teller showed me the paperwork with my son Kevin's name listed as the primary account holder for my incoming deposits, I realized with horror that my own son had been stealing my entire income for 3 months, and I'd had no idea. My name is Ann Williams, and I'm 72 years old. I live in a small brick house on Magnolia Street in Charleston, South Carolina, the house where my late husband Thomas and I raised our 2 sons and built our life together over 43 years. Thomas died 9 years ago from complications of lung cancer. He was a construction foreman, a strong man who worked with his hands and provided for our family through decades of honest labor. Before he died, he made me promise I'd never let anyone take advantage of me. "Annie," he'd said from his hospital bed, his voice weak but firm, "after I'm gone, you're going to be vulnerable. People will see an older woman alone and think they can use you, even family, especially family. Promise me you'll protect yourself. Promise me you'll watch your money and not let anyone control it but you." I'd promised him. And now, 9 years later, I'd broken that promise. I received $1,847 per month in Social Security and $923 per month in pension from Thomas's union, a total of $2,770 monthly. Not a fortune, but enough to live on if I was careful. My mortgage was paid off, so that money covered my utilities, food, medical expenses, and a little bit left over for savings. At least, that's what I thought. Now, sitting in a small office at the bank with the branch manager, a kind woman named Patricia Martinez, I was learning that for the past 3 months, none of that money had been coming to me. "Mrs. Williams," Patricia said gently, "I'm looking at the change authorization that was filed in June. It shows that your Social Security and pension deposits were redirected to account number ending in 4782. That account is held jointly by Kevin Williams and Jessica Williams." Kevin? My son? And his wife, Jessica. "I never signed anything," I said, my voice shaking. "I never authorized this." Patricia pulled up a scanned document on her computer and turned the screen toward me. "This is the signature on file." "Is this your signature?" I looked at it. It was close, very close, but it wasn't mine. The loops were slightly different, the pressure uneven in ways my signature never was. "That's not my signature. Someone forged it." Patricia's face grew serious. "Mrs. Williams, if that's true, this is fraud. We need to file a report immediately." "How much money are we talking about? How much has been taken?" She calculated quickly. 3 months of deposits. That would be approximately $8,310. $8,000. 3 months of my entire income, stolen by my own son. I felt like I couldn't breathe. How did I not notice? How did I not see this happening? "Did you check your account regularly?" "I checked online. I saw the deposits pending. I thought everything was fine." Patricia looked at the account history more carefully. "I see what happened. The deposits showed as pending in your account initially, then were automatically transferred to the other account within 24 hours. So when you checked, you saw them pending and assumed they'd stay there, but they were being siphoned off before you could access them. How is that even possible? Someone with access to your account information and online banking credentials could set up automatic transfers." "Mrs. Williams, did you give anyone your banking passwords?" I thought back 3 months ago to June. Kevin had called me saying there was a problem with online banking and the bank needed to verify my identity. He'd asked me to confirm my username and password for security purposes. I'd given them to him without hesitation because he was my son, because I trusted him. If you've ever realized that someone you love completely has been systematically stealing from you, planning it carefully, executing it deliberately, you know the particular horror I felt in that moment. It's not just the money. It's the betrayal, the premeditation, the cold calculation behind it. "I gave my son my login information 3 months ago," I whispered. "He said the bank needed it for verification." Patricia's expression told me she'd heard this story before. "Mrs. Williams, banks never ask for your password, ever. I'm so sorry, but it sounds like your son used that information to gain control of your account and redirect your deposits. What do I do?" "First, we freeze this account immediately and open you a new one with new account numbers and passwords. Second, we contact Social Security and the pension administrator to redirect your deposits to the new account. Third, we file a fraud report with our security department. And fourth, I strongly recommend you file a police report for identity theft and fraud." "He's my son," I said, as if that explained anything, as if that made the theft acceptable. "I understand, but Mrs. Williams, he stole over $8,000 from you. That's a felony, and if you don't report it, he'll likely do it again." She was right. I knew she was right. But the thought of having my own son arrested made me feel sick. Patricia helped me open a new account and contact Social Security and the pension office to redirect my future deposits. But the money that had already been stolen, that would require legal action to recover. I left the bank in a daze. I sat in my car in the parking lot for 20 minutes, trying to process what had just happened. 3 months ago, I'd started noticing I was running low on money faster than usual. I'd assumed I was spending more, being less careful. I'd cut back on groceries, stopped buying things I needed, worried about every expense. I'd been eating less, rationing food, because I thought I was running out of money due to my own poor management. But the whole time, Kevin had been stealing my entire income. How had I survived the past 3 months? I tried to reconstruct it in my mind. I'd had about $2,000 in savings when this started. That money was gone now. I'd been slowly draining my savings to pay bills, thinking my deposits were supplementing it when really they'd been going to Kevin all along. I'd also borrowed money. My neighbor, Miss Geneva, had loaned me $300 last month when my electric bill came due and I didn't have enough. My friend from church, Dorothy, had bought me groceries twice, insisting it was just Christian charity. I'd been ashamed, thinking I was failing at managing my money. But the whole time, I'd been the victim of theft. I needed to talk to Kevin. I needed to look him in the eyes and ask him why. But first, I needed to understand the full scope of what he'd done. So I went home and went through every piece of financial paperwork I had. Bank statements showed the pattern clearly once I knew what to look for. Starting in June, my deposits appeared briefly, then vanished. My savings account showed withdrawal after withdrawal as I'd unknowingly drained it to survive. Credit card statements showed I'd maxed out my only credit card, a card with a $2,000 limit that I'd kept paid off for years. Now I owed $1,847 with interest accumulating daily. I'd gone from financially stable to nearly destitute in 3 months, and I thought it was my fault. I called my younger son Marcus in Atlanta. When I told him what I'd discovered, there was a long, terrible silence. "Mama, Kevin stole your Social Security? Your pension? Your entire income for 3 months?" "Yes." "That son of a bitch, that absolute—" Marcus stopped himself. "I'm coming down there. I'm leaving tonight. Don't confront him without me there." "Marcus, I need to understand why." "Why doesn't matter. He stole from you. He forged documents. He lied to you. He let you go hungry while he was stealing your money. Why doesn't matter?" "It matters to me." After Marcus hung up, I sat in my living room looking at old photographs of Kevin as a child. A sweet boy with a gap-toothed smile holding up a drawing he'd made for me at school. A teenager in his football uniform, his arm around my shoulders. A young man on his wedding day, kissing my cheek and telling me he loved me. When had that boy become someone who could steal from his own mother? I thought back to recent months, looking for signs I'd missed. Kevin had been calling me more often than usual, every few days, asking how I was doing, if I needed anything. At the time, I thought he was being thoughtful. Now I realized he was monitoring me, making sure I hadn't discovered the theft. He'd also been asking odd questions. Mom, have you checked your bank account lately? Everything look okay? Mom, did you get your pension deposit this month? Mom, are you managing your bills all right? I'd answered honestly, saying I was having a harder time than usual, that money seemed tight. And he'd sympathized, suggested I needed to budget better, offered unhelpful advice. The whole time, he'd known exactly why I was struggling. Because he was stealing from me. 3 weeks ago, I'd called him in tears, saying I didn't know how I was going to pay my water bill. He'd offered to loan me $50. I'd been so grateful. He'd loaned me $50 of my own money that he'd stolen. The cruelty of it took my breath away. I also started thinking about Jessica, Kevin's wife. Did she know? She must have known. The money was going into their joint account. She had to have seen thousands of extra dollars appearing every month. Was this her idea, or Kevin's, or had they planned it together? I needed answers. But I also needed protection, so I called a lawyer. The lawyer I'd used when Thomas died had retired, but her former partner, Michael Bradford, still practiced elder law. When I explained the situation, he asked me to come to his office immediately. Michael was in his 60s, a black man with kind eyes and a firm handshake. He listened to my story, reviewed the documents I'd brought, and shook his head. Mrs. Williams, what your son has done is elder financial abuse. It's also identity theft, fraud, and forgery. These are serious crimes. Can I get my money back? We can try. We'll need to file a civil lawsuit against Kevin and Jessica for the return of the stolen funds plus damages. We'll also need to report this to Adult Protective Services and likely to the police. What if I just ask him to give it back? Michael gave me a look that said he'd heard this before. Has he given you any money voluntarily in the past 3 months, even when you've struggled? No. Well, he loaned me $50 once. $50 out of the $8,000 he stole. Mrs. Williams, he's not going to give it back voluntarily. If he intended to, he would have by now. This was deliberate, calculated theft. We need to pursue legal remedies. What will happen to him? If you press criminal charges, he could face jail time. The civil suit is separate. That's about recovering your money. You can pursue one or both. I need to talk to him first. I need to understand why. Michael sighed. I understand. But please, be careful. Don't confront him alone. Have someone with you. And don't let him manipulate you into dropping this. What he did was a crime, Mrs. Williams, not a mistake. A crime. Marcus arrived from Atlanta that evening. He was furious. I could see it in every line of his body, the tension in his jaw, the anger in his eyes. Where is he? Where's Kevin? I don't know. I haven't called him yet. Call him. Tell him to come over. Don't tell him why. I called Kevin. He answered on the second ring, his voice cheerful. Hey, Mama. How are you doing? The fakeness of it, the pretense of caring when he'd been stealing from me, made my hands shake. Kevin, I need you to come over, tonight. It's important. Is everything okay? Are you sick? Just come over, as soon as you can. Okay, I'll be there in 30 minutes. He arrived 25 minutes later. Jessica wasn't with him. I told him to come alone, and apparently he'd complied without questioning why. When he walked in and saw Marcus sitting in the living room, his expression changed. Marcus, what are you doing here? Mama, what's going on? Sit down, Kevin, I said. My voice was steadier than I expected. He sat on the couch, looking between Marcus and me with growing wariness. I pulled out the bank statements and laid them on the coffee table. I went to the bank today. I tried to withdraw money for groceries, and there was almost nothing in my account. Kevin's face showed what looked like concern. What? That's terrible. Did someone steal your debit card? No, someone redirected my Social Security and pension deposits to a different account. Your account, Kevin. Yours and Jessica's. The color drained from his face. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, my voice rose. The bank showed me the paperwork. Someone forged my signature and changed my direct deposits. My entire income for 3 months has been going to your account. Over $8,000 stolen from me. Mama, I didn't. Marcus stood up. Stop lying. The evidence is right there. You stole from her. You let her go hungry, let her drain her savings, let her borrow money from neighbors, all while you were stealing her entire income. Kevin's mouth opened and closed. Then he put his head in his hands. I was going to pay you back. The admission hung in the air. So you did steal it? I said quietly. I didn't steal it. I borrowed it. I was in trouble, and I just needed some time. You don't borrow something without asking. You don't forge someone's signature and redirect their income without their knowledge. That's stealing, Kevin. I was desperate, his voice cracked. Jessica and I have massive debt. I lost my job 4 months ago. We were about to lose the house. I didn't know what else to do. Marcus laughed bitterly. So you decided to steal from your elderly mother to let her starve while you saved your house? I wasn't going to let you starve. I was monitoring you, making sure you were okay. Monitoring me? I felt rage building. You were watching me struggle. You knew I couldn't pay my bills. You loaned me $50 when you'd stolen $8,000? How is that monitoring? I gave you what I could spare. It was my money. All of it was my money that you stole. Kevin started crying. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I made a terrible mistake. I was just so desperate, and I thought I could replace it before you noticed. Replace it with what money? Marcus demanded. You lost your job. Where was this magical money going to come from? Kevin didn't answer. I looked at my son and saw a stranger. Jessica knew about this, didn't she? He hesitated, then nodded. It was actually her idea. She said older people don't really need as much money, that you could survive on less while we figured things out. Her idea. Jessica had convinced my son to steal from me, and he'd gone along with it. Kevin, do you understand what you've done to me? I've been eating 1 meal a day because I thought I couldn't afford more. I've been turning off my heat at night to save money. I've been ashamed, thinking I was failing at managing my finances. And the whole time, you were stealing from me. I'm sorry, he sobbed. I'm so sorry. Sorry isn't enough. I want my money back, all of it. I don't have it. We spent it on mortgage payments and bills and... Then you'll get it. You'll get a job, you'll sell things, you'll do whatever you have to do, but you're paying me back every penny. Okay, I will, I promise. Marcus pulled out his phone. I'm calling the police. Kevin's head snapped up. What? No, Mama, please don't let him call the police. Why shouldn't we? Marcus asked. You committed fraud. You committed identity theft. You committed elder abuse. You should be arrested. I'm your brother, and she's our mother. That didn't stop you from stealing from her. Kevin turned to me, desperate. Mama, please, I made a terrible mistake, but I'm still your son. Don't have me arrested, please. Think about what this will do to the family. Think about Emma. She'll have to watch her father go to jail. The mention of my granddaughter, sweet 8-year-old Emma, hit me like a weapon. You should have thought about Emma before you stole from me. I know, but please, I'm begging you. I'll pay you back. I'll do whatever you want. Just please don't call the police. I looked at Marcus, who was waiting for my decision. Then I looked at Kevin, crying on my couch, and I felt tired, so tired. Get out, I said quietly. Mama, get out of my house now. I need to think. I need to decide what to do, but I can't look at you right now. Kevin stood up slowly. I love you, Mama. I'm so sorry. If you loved me, you never would have done this. He left. Marcus and I sat in silence for a long time after he was gone. Mama, you have to press charges. You know that, right? I know I should, but he's my son, Marcus. He's a thief. He stole $8,000 from you. He forged your signature. He let you suffer while he saved his own skin. I know. So why are you hesitating? I thought about Kevin as a little boy. I remembered when he was 6 years old and his father had been laid off from work. We were struggling badly, and Kevin had noticed. One day, he'd brought me his piggy bank, $27.43 he'd been saving for months to buy a new bicycle. "Mama, you can have this. I heard you and Daddy talking about money being tight. I want to help." I'd cried and told him to keep his money, that we'd be fine. But the gesture had meant everything. That little boy who'd wanted to help his mother, where had he gone? When had he become someone who could steal from her? "I'll decide tomorrow," I told Marcus. "Right now, I'm too tired to think straight." That night, I barely slept. I kept replaying the conversation, Kevin's tears, his excuses, his manipulation. Think about Emma. He'd used my granddaughter as a shield, knowing I'd hesitate to do anything that might hurt her. But what about me? What about the hurt he'd caused me? The next morning, I called my lawyer, Michael Bradford. "I want to file both the civil suit and the criminal complaint." "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. Kevin had a choice. He could have asked me for help. He could have been honest. Instead, he stole from me and lied. He needs to face consequences." "Understood. I'll file the paperwork today." I also called Detective Sarah Morrison at the Charleston Police Department. She specialized in elder abuse cases. When I explained the situation and provided all my documentation, she was sympathetic but firm. "Mrs. Williams, this is a clear case of financial exploitation and identity theft. I'm going to open an investigation immediately. We'll need to interview your son and his wife, examine their bank records, and build a case." "What happens next?" "We'll likely issue a warrant for his arrest. Given the amount stolen and the forged documents, this is a felony. He could face significant prison time if convicted." Prison time? My son could go to prison because he stole from me. I felt sick, but I also felt something else, a grim determination. What Kevin had done was wrong. Letting him get away with it would only teach him that he could victimize people without consequences, even if one of those people was his own mother. Over the next few weeks, the legal process ground forward. Kevin was arrested and charged with identity theft, fraud, forgery, and financial exploitation of an elderly person. He posted bail. I heard through Marcus that Jessica's parents had paid it. And immediately, the manipulation began. Kevin called family members, telling them I was overreacting, that this was all a misunderstanding, that I was confused about what had happened. Jessica called people from church, painting me as a vindictive woman who was punishing her son for trying to help her. Some people believed them. I got calls from distant cousins, from old family friends, asking me to have mercy on Kevin, to remember he's family, to drop the charges. Each call hurt. Each one felt like another betrayal. But I also had support. Miss Geneva stood by me, telling anyone who would listen that I was doing the right thing. Marcus called everyone in the family and explained exactly what Kevin had done, showing them the bank records, the forged signatures, the evidence. Dorothy from church organized a group of women who'd experienced similar situations, adult children stealing from elderly parents, and they rallied around me, sharing their stories, offering support. I wasn't alone, and that knowledge gave me strength. The civil suit moved faster than the criminal case. Michael Bradford was aggressive in pursuing the money. He subpoenaed Kevin and Jessica's bank records, showing exactly where my money had gone. Mortgage payments, $3,200. Credit card bills, $2,800. Car payment, $650. Shopping, restaurants, entertainment, $1,460. Miscellaneous, $200. They'd spent my money on their lifestyle while I was rationing food. The judge was not sympathetic to Kevin. At the hearing, he looked at the evidence and shook his head. "Mr. Williams, you stole from your own mother. You forged documents, you lied, you manipulated. You let her suffer while you maintained your standard of living." This is one of the most callous cases I've seen. He ordered Kevin and Jessica to repay the full $8,310 plus interest, legal fees, and damages, a total of $14,200. You have 6 months to pay in full, or I'll authorize wage garnishment and seizure of assets. Kevin and Jessica would have to sell things, drain their savings, maybe even sell their house to pay me back. Good. The criminal trial took longer. Kevin's lawyer tried to argue that this was a family dispute, not a crime. That I had given Kevin permission to access my accounts. I hadn't. That the signature wasn't forged, but simply looked different because I'd been shaky when I signed. A lie. But the evidence was overwhelming. The bank's handwriting expert testified that the signature was forged. Social Security testified that they had no record of me authorizing any account changes. I testified about giving Kevin my banking passwords under false pretenses. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. When they came back, Kevin was found guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced him to 18 months in prison with the possibility of parole after 12 months. He also ordered 5 years of probation after release and mandatory restitution. I sat in the courtroom and watched my son be led away in handcuffs, and I cried. Not because I regretted pressing charges, but because it had come to this. Because my son had valued money more than his own mother. Jessica left him. She filed for divorce 2 weeks after the sentencing, claiming she'd been manipulated by Kevin into participating in the fraud. Without Kevin's income and facing half the court-ordered restitution, she sold their house and moved in with her parents. Emma came to live with me temporarily while Jessica figured out her living situation. At 8 years old, Emma didn't fully understand what had happened, but she knew her father was in prison and her mother was struggling. "Grandma," she asked me one evening while we were making dinner together, "why is Daddy in jail?" I'd been dreading this question, but I'd also promised myself I would be honest with her. "Your daddy made some very bad choices, sweetheart. He took money that didn't belong to him, and when people do that, there are consequences. Did he take money from you? Yes. That's not nice. No, it's not. Are you mad at him? I thought about that. I'm disappointed and hurt, but I also hope that this time in prison helps him understand why what he did was wrong and helps him become a better person. Do you still love him?" That was the hardest question. Yes, he's my son, and I'll always love him. But love doesn't mean letting people hurt you. It doesn't mean protecting them from the consequences of their bad choices. Emma thought about that for a moment. Mommy said you were mean for sending Daddy to jail. I know she did. But Emma, what I did wasn't mean. It was necessary. Your daddy stole from me. If I didn't do anything, he would have learned that stealing is okay as long as you don't get caught. And that's not a good lesson. Emma nodded slowly. I think I understand. Having Emma with me was both a blessing and a challenge. I was 72 years old, not equipped to raise an energetic 8-year-old. But I loved her fiercely, and I was determined to give her stability while her world was falling apart. Marcus helped. He drove down from Atlanta every weekend to spend time with Emma, taking her to the park, helping with homework, being a positive male role model. My church community helped too. People volunteered to babysit when I had appointments. They brought meals. They included Emma in youth group activities. Slowly, we built a routine. Emma went to school, I volunteered at the church food bank, we cooked dinner together every night. On Sundays, we went to church and then visited Miss Geneva for lunch. Life wasn't perfect. I was exhausted most of the time. My finances were still tight, even with my deposits restored. I was paying off the credit card debt I'd accumulated during the theft, and legal fees had taken a chunk of my savings. But I was surviving. More than surviving. I was standing up for myself, protecting my boundaries, teaching my granddaughter that dignity matters. Kevin wrote me letters from prison. The first few were full of excuses and self-pity. I didn't respond. But after 6 months, the tone changed. He wrote, "Mama, I've been in therapy here. The counselor has helped me understand that I didn't just steal money from you. I stole your security, your peace of mind, your trust. I let my own desperation justify hurting you in ways I can't fully comprehend. I know saying I'm sorry isn't enough. I know I can't undo what I did, but I want you to know that I'm working on myself. I'm trying to understand why I made such terrible choices and how to never make them again. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just want you to know that I finally understand how badly I hurt you, and I'm truly, deeply sorry." I read that letter 3 times. Then I wrote back, Kevin, I'm glad you're getting help. I'm glad you're starting to understand what you did. But words are easy in prison. What matters is who you are when you get out. If you truly want to make amends, you'll need to prove it through years of consistent, honest actions. You'll need to rebuild trust one tiny piece at a time. And you need to understand that our relationship will never be what it was. You broke something fundamental when you stole from me. We might build something new eventually, but it will be different, smaller, more careful. I still love you because you're my son, but I don't trust you, and I may never fully trust you again. That's the consequence of your choices. Mom. Kevin was released after 13 months for good behavior. He moved into a halfway house and got a job at a warehouse. He was paying back his restitution in small monthly payments that would take him years to complete. He asked to see Emma. I discussed it with Jessica, with Emma's therapist, with Marcus. We decided on supervised visits at a neutral location, a park, with me or Marcus present. The first visit was awkward. Emma ran to hug him and Kevin cried. They sat on a park bench and talked about school, about her friends, about nothing important. Kevin looked at me across the playground and mouthed, "Thank you." I nodded but didn't smile. He hadn't earned my warmth yet. Maybe he never would. He asked if he could visit me. I said no, not yet. Maybe someday, but not yet. I need more time, I told him. I need to see that you've really changed, that you're really different. Words aren't enough. He nodded, tears in his eyes. I understand. A year after Kevin's arrest, I was in a much better place. My finances were stable again. I'd paid off the credit card debt. I had a small emergency fund building back up. Emma was thriving. She'd made friends at school, joined the choir at church, and was getting good grades. She still saw her mother regularly, but Jessica had acknowledged that Emma was better off with me for now. I'd also started volunteering with an organization that helped elderly victims of financial abuse. I shared my story at support group meetings, helping other women understand that they had rights, that they could fight back, that pressing charges against their own children was sometimes necessary. One woman, Dorothy, told me my story had given her courage to report her son for stealing her pension. I thought I'd be a bad mother if I had him arrested, but you helped me see that I'd be a bad mother to myself if I didn't protect myself. That comment stayed with me. Being a bad mother to myself? For so long, I thought being a good mother meant sacrificing everything for my children, even my own well-being, even my own dignity. But I'd learned that real love includes boundaries. Real love includes accountability. Real love sometimes means letting your children face the consequences of their actions, no matter how much it hurts. Now, if you're listening to this story, if you're an older woman whose child has stolen from you, accessed your accounts without permission, or controlled your finances without your consent, I need you to hear this. You have the right to your own money. Your Social Security, your pension, your savings, all of it is yours, not theirs, yours. No one, not even your children, has the right to access your accounts, redirect your deposits, or control your finances without your explicit informed consent. If you discover that your child has been stealing from you, here's what you need to do. First, go to your bank immediately. Explain what's happened. Freeze any compromised accounts and open new ones with new passwords that only you know. Don't share your banking information with anyone, even family members you think you can trust. Second, contact Social Security, pension administrators, and any other sources of income. Make sure your deposits are going to the correct account, your account, not someone else's. Third, pull your credit report. Make sure no one has opened accounts in your name or is using your identity for other fraudulent purposes. Fourth, document everything. Save bank statements, take screenshots, keep records of conversations. You'll need this evidence. Fifth, get legal help. Contact an elder law attorney who can advise you on both criminal and civil remedies. Contact Adult Protective Services. Consider filing a police report. And sixth, and this is the hardest part, don't let guilt stop you from protecting yourself. Your children will say you're overreacting. They'll say it was just a misunderstanding. They'll say they were going to pay you back. They'll cry and apologize and promise to do better. But here's the truth. If they intended to ask permission, they would have asked before taking your money. If they intended to pay you back, they would have been paying you back already. If they were truly sorry, they never would have stolen from you in the first place. Actions matter more than words. And the action of stealing from your elderly parent speaks volumes. You are not obligated to protect your children from the consequences of their crimes. You are not a bad parent for pressing charges. You are not selfish for wanting your money back. You worked your whole life for that money. Your spouse worked for it. That Social Security, that pension, it's yours. You earned it, and you deserve to have it, to control it, to use it for your own needs. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. I pressed charges against my own son. I testified against him in court. I watched him be sentenced to prison. And yes, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. It broke my heart in ways I'm still healing from. But it also saved my financial security. It taught my son that actions have consequences. It protected other potential victims from him. And it taught my granddaughter that love and accountability can coexist. You can do the same. You can protect yourself. You can press charges. You can demand restitution. Even the people you love most can betray your trust, so you must protect your independence, your finances, and your dignity. Blind trust without boundaries can lead to devastating consequences. I learned that the hard way, but I also learned that you can survive betrayal. You can rebuild. You can stand up for yourself, even when it costs you relationships. You can choose yourself. And that's not selfish, it's necessary. Your money is yours. Your independence is yours. Your dignity is yours. Don't let anyone, not even your own children, take those things from you. Stand firm, set boundaries, protect what's yours, and know that somewhere in Charleston, there's a 72-year-old widow who did exactly that, who pressed charges against her son, who fought for her money back, who chose her own well-being over protecting him from consequences, who's still standing, still independent, still in control of her own life. You can be too. Hold your ground, protect your finances, and never, ever feel guilty for refusing to be victimized. You've earned the right to financial security in your old age. Don't let anyone steal it from you, not even your own children. You matter. Your security matters. Your peace of mind matters, and you have every right to protect all of it. Stand strong. You're worth it.